Welcome back to another episode of Lone Star College Football. Today we're going to be talking about the Big 12 media rights contracts that's kind of been under talk. Just broke today that the Big 12 is going to try and restructure their contract with whichever media right wants to buy out the Big 12 games. Before we get into it, y'all do us a favor. Like the video, comment, leave us y'all's opinion on this whole thing. Tell us, what do you think it means for the Big 12? What does it mean for Texas and OU? What does it mean for the team staying in the Big 12? And then please subscribe. Doing all three of those things really helps us push this channel. We're trying to grow. We want to get to giveaways and trying to get other people on the channel. And we need help growing because we're a new channel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into the meat and taters of this video. Essentially, what's going on is the Big 12 doesn't want to get behind of the race because they've been behind for a long time. The SEC and the Big 10 have good media rights deals, and the Pac-12 is in conversation. So the ACC, their contract lasts for like 2028 or 29. So they've got a long time before they can even start talks. So the Big 12 is trying to get ahead of the game. The problem is that with Texas and OU still in the conference, they have leverage. They're able to tell the rest of the Big 12, no, we won't vote yes for a new contract unless y'all let us have an early out. So Logan, why don't you go ahead and why don't you get into what does that mean? What does that mean for as a Baylor fan? Baylor will be left in the Big 12. What do you think this could do?
And I feel like it could go a certain couple of ways. I think that if Texas and OU chooses to go that route to where it's like, okay, we're just gonna be like, all right, that's cool. Y'all can try to do that, but we're not gonna let you unless y'all let us out. I mean, I don't know how much that could really affect stuff legally and stuff like that. I know that ESPN will want to push for it because that's going to mean that they'll have two more blue bloods in the SEC, which they are the majority media holder. Like, it's, I feel like ESPN's going to push it. Fox is in on the conversations with the Big 12 just because that's another one of our media shareholders. But Fox really isn't going to win anything from it either way. I mean, I think that the Big 12s really want to do it that way that they can get a step up on the Pac 12 because Pac 12's in conversation because theirs coming up sooner. I can't remember when it's going to be up. But from what I understand is that the Big 12 is going to try to use it to talk to some of the Pac 12 schools to be like, hey, look, if you come over, we already talked to our media rights holders. Excuse me. And this will be X amount is what we're going to get per school if y'all come over with Sikkim 365 use like Arizona and like whatever other school like Utah or Arizona State just as a example. They'll be able to go to Arizona and be like, look, we talked to ESPN and Fox. This is what they're willing to give us if you and fill in the blank will come over to the Big 12. And they'll use that as leverage against the Pac 12 because people have said the Arizona schools don't really have much holding them to the Pac 12. I don't know how true that is. But if it's a money kind of thing and the Big 12 is going to offer more money and better time slots as far as games so they can get more fans watching the game, then I think it'll be able to help us expand. The whole losing Texas and Oklahoma thing, that's going to drop our contract, I'm sure, money wise. I don't know how much, but
yeah, it's going to be tough to try to see who, how much money are y'all going to be able to get with a conference with Baylor, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and BYU probably being your biggest four. Houston sometimes is competing, but for the most part, it's going to be those other few teams. And I mean, I could see it working out to where y'all can get a couple teams from the Pac-12 to move on over to the Big 12 and keep the conference online. I don't really know what that looks like when there's a conference like the SEC and the Big 10.
Mhm.
Because even if you get the best Pac-12 teams like Oregon, Utah, Arizona, I guess Arizona because it would be a new state for the Big 12, so I
Yeah.
guess that's important. Uh, Oregon, Utah, Arizona, Washington. If you could get those kind of schools, it still doesn't put that conference on a level. Even the ACC would have bigger schools still with Miami and Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina is not really huge, but I'm just not sure what that actually does for the Big 12. I think it's great. I hope the Big 12 is, if one conference has to die, I hope it's not the Big 12. I
Yeah.
hope it's the Pac 12.
Same.
Um,
Um.
conference realignment is it's something that it's kind of scary because it's happening. It's going to happen. That's it's 4 teams are already guaranteed to move with Texas and OU to the SEC and USC and UCLA to the Big Ten, and that just leaves us kind of questioning what is going to happen because there are teams that are valuable in college football, and not just valuable and like monetarily, but relevant in playoffs. Oregon was a team if they didn't lose to Utah back twice last season, they may have been able to make the playoffs. Clemson, they won't make it with DJU, but they've been in the running for that. Florida State won a national title a decade ago. So like these
Mhm.
teams are still relevant and they're big programs. It really scares me for teams like Baylor, Oklahoma State, TCU. Like what best case scenario doesn't even sound like a best case scenario. I was gonna say what would be the best case scenario? Best case scenario would be that we find a way where uh, they have to let schools join other conferences. Like let there be the big three then. Let it be
Yeah.
or power three, Big 12 or Big 10, SEC, and ACC, and all the Pac 12, Big 12 teams, they get to join one of those three. That would probably be the best situation. That way uh we're not losing the landscape because we got FBS and FCS. What I'm afraid of is we have SEC Big Ten and they have their season and their schedule and their playoffs, and then we have a whole different conference.
Then we have like the subpar 3.
Right. Like I don't want that. That's not good for college football because I don't want to lose the rivalries between those two conferences. I don't want to lose the competitiveness of there being two separate like playoffs because then
Yeah.
these teams are like, oh, well, we can't win the big playoff. We can't even make the playoff. I don't want there to be any situation where it's two different leagues because then we've talked about this before. All it takes then is for the SEC and the Big Ten to say, all right, well, we're done with NCAA. Why don't we just go ahead and make our own rules instead of a 85-man roster? It could be 100-man roster because the only reason that's not allowed is because of the NCAA. If
Yeah.
they drop them, they could do whatever. And then you've got these two powerhouse conferences just stacking 100 people, and those extra 15 guys would have been starting on one of y'all's rosters, but instead they're sitting 3 and 4 deep in a SEC or Big Ten. Who knows? Maybe they find a way to make it to where you can stay in college for 7 years. You can sit and wait, redshirt 3 years, and then I mean, really without the NCAA. And I'm not a big NCAA fan, but it is good to have a somewhat of a governing body that sets rules.
Mm,
It just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what it does. I think conference realignment also kind of forces like the expanded playoff is coming.
yeah. Man, I'm like an old head when it comes to this. I like the whole like geographic kind of thing, like how it was. But like I don't even really like West Virginia being in the Big 12. Nothing against them, but it's just like
Doesn't make sense.
it's not like a South like a It's like mid USA South conference is what the Big 12 is, in my opinion, besides West Virginia. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't really care that A&M left, but
I
I
do.
don't know. I'm just an old head about it, I guess, is how I would say it. Because like USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten makes 0 sense. I think their closest game is like 2,500 miles if it's not
It's a
3,000.
long way.
Like,
Yeah.
why? Why are we doing this? But
Yeah.
so the whole conference realignment thing really frustrates me because it's like it makes no sense at all. But I don't. They don't care about my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I'm worried for the small schools like Baylor, or not even small schools, but just like anybody that's not in the Super Two. It's like, what's gonna happen eventually? Like, we might be fine for now for the next decade, but after that,
Yeah.
then what? You know how
Things.
confusing it is going to be trying to explain to our kids the landscape of college football and what it used to be whenever we were growing up.
Yes, son. So Baylor and Texas used to play.
What's
But
Baylor?
Dad, Baylor's not even a good school.
Baylor's not a school anymore. Like,
They lost all their funding. Yeah, and it's we're at the end of this video. We're not gonna get into in this video, but we'll find a way to link another video. We'll make one more tonight. I think this pushes for expanding playoffs. So if y'all want to hear, you got anything else to add on this?
on this topic, no, without me going into an hour-long rant about
Yeah, I
everything.
think. All right, so we're gonna link another video to an expanded playoff. So if y'all like what y'all heard, click the link at the end of this one to that. We appreciate y'all listening to us. We'll let y'all know if anything else happens as far as conference realignment or media rights agreements. We'll try to hop on here and fill y'all in. You can find him at L Patterson _3. You can find me at Christian H _88, and you can find the channel on Twitter at Lone Star _ CFB. Appreciate y'all.